The Catholic Church has always maintained the importance of the family as a building block of social life. And Catholic social teaching is very, very firm on the importance of protecting families from the particular excesses, if you like, of rapacious capitalism, other forces that would undermine that family unit, forcing people to live in distorted ways that don't allow them to cultivate and nurture the love of the family. And that's very clear as part of Catholic culture and teaching. If you go back to the arrival of Christianity into the Roman Empire, the Christian attitude towards, Catholic attitude towards family was quite radical. And of course, we lose a sense of the strangeness and radicality of our faith after 2,000 years in a country like Australia, but which presumes so much in the way of values that are Christian. But certainly the paterfamilias in the Roman setup owned his household, including women and children, and slaves, of course. And this sort of echoed the idea that to be a proper adult male, you had to have property, which included really other humans, but you had to have children. The Greeks had a similar idea. To be a proper voting member of the polis, you had to be an adult male married with children. Then Christianity arrives and something different takes hold, because male adultery was not taken very seriously by Greeks or Romans, but for Christians it was. So you had for the first time an insistence that both men and women had to be chaste to each other in their love, committed. You had also the very radical teaching of Paul of an eschatological family, a vision of the world as it might be at the heavenly banquet, where male, female, slave, free, woman, child, all had access to divine grace. It wasn't only the man of the house. Then you had the even stranger thing to the Roman mind of celibacy. You had a founder, Jesus Christ, this wandering poor man who owned nothing, it seemed, and who never married and had children. He had no blood to pass through and on. That was particularly contemptible and considered perverse by the Romans. Celibacy then became a hallmark of this disjuncture, if you like, between the Roman idea of the family, which was absolutely foundational to your power and your status as a man, and this Christian idea of the family, which, whilst loving that family and insisting on a higher moral standard for men as well, said there was another family to which one also belonged by baptism. A family that cut across power, wealth, poverty, gender, and even other ethnicities, which the Romans could understand in the empire. They understood that bit to an extent, but didn't prioritise Roman citizens. Now, this family was strange, to say the least, to the ancient world, because it wasn't tribal. It wasn't about power. It wasn't about extending your power. It was about receiving power from above that bound you to others. The early Christians were also, as part of the persecutions before Constantine, accused of incest because they insisted on referring to each other as brother and sister when they held no such familial bonds. So we have two traditions in Catholicism broadly. One that is importantly pro-family, and one that should be and still is insisting that society protect the family. Wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a society where young families could actually own a home? The Church has a very strong opinion on that. Wouldn't it be nice if married couples didn't feel forced to work 2 jobs? Wouldn't it be good if children could be raised with love and support as needed? And we do many of these things quite well in Australia, but there's always a need for improvement, especially on housing. So the church cares. We also have a countervailing, if you like, almost ironic tradition that yes, family matters, but it's not like it was for the Romans. It's not everything. Blood isn't everything. Tribe is not everything. In fact, it's all relative to Jesus Christ, to being part of his body in the church. And that difference, which makes sense of celibacy in Christ's own life and that of the church to this day for some people called to it, holds open a space between the heavenly banquet and things as they are here. It holds open a way of seeing the world that is freer and more loving and not bound to blood and soil. It is a heavenly banquet to which all are invited. That is a radical idea. It does change how we relate to each other. It opens up horizons of love that were and are unthinkable to many who are locked into a logic of power and family. It also challenges those who are blessed with very beautiful family lives to keep the boundaries of that family fluid to some extent, to allow in, for the Christian, the stranger, like the Holy Family fleeing terror, fleeing the power of the state. The Holy Family are in this way so clearly refugees. This is why for Christians we can't simply lock other people out to keep our identity and our tribal pieties, if you like, cemented. We're always challenged to imagine what it would be like at the heavenly banquet where all are welcome. So we run with interesting countervailing forces from the Gospels. But the most important thing is that all the love on earth we have and receive, and family life is so fundamental to that, though families also fall apart, we know. Families have many crosses to carry. But all of that is relative to a higher love that makes possible family love. And we come together in this sacrament to remember that higher love, to call down the power of God's love, to strengthen family, but also to hold those outside of family life. This suburb, or this postcode, apparently has more elderly people living alone than any other part of Australia, and younger people too. So it's important for us to reflect on the boundaries of family and for our parish to be a true family rooted in Jesus Christ as part of his body. The boundaries of our parish are therefore fuzzy. We welcome people in. We want that eschatological family to disrupt us, to challenge us, and to enrich us.